Do you want to experience the thrill of a Packers game at Lambeau Field? If so, be sure to get your game tickets from the longtime trusted source in Wisconsin, Ticket King. Visit their locations in Milwaukee and Green Bay, or just go to their website, theticketking.com. Again, that's theticketking.com.
And now, for fans of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers, this is Cheesehead TV Live.
Cheetahs don't stretch and neither do we.
I think you're an idiot. And I mean that with the most respect possible that I can give to an idiot.
Packers Hall of Fame quarterback Jay Cutler.
It's not as fun to say as equanimous.
That is a perfect example of a wrong opinion. Ring the bell. Welcome back, Packers fans. Cheesehead TV Live coming at you. It's another edition. Unfortunately, it's not a victory edition. And by now, it's Wednesday night. Everyone's tired of all the analysis paralysis of the terrible performance that was the Packers versus the Lions. But alas, we're here. Jason Perrone and Jeremy Vanderlyn of Cheesehead TV. Jeremy, what it do?
It do. I don't even know what to say to that. What
do it do?
What does it do?
What do it do? All right, so we're gonna go in reverse a little bit here, since we typically tend to do this towards the end of the show. So you can follow us, and if you're not, you should be following us. You can follow the show on Twitter at CHTV Live. And in fact, you're going to want to do that because a lot of the giveaways that we do are going to hinge on your following the account. Yeah. You can follow me at Jason Perrone, and you can follow Jeremy at Jeremy RVDL.
That's right.
Those are Twitter handles. If you are not currently on the Cheesehead TV YouTube page, get over there. That is where the live chat is taking place. If you want to chime in, ask questions, we will cover everything we can on the air. If you have questions for a future show, tweet us. Tweet me, tweet Jeremy, tweet the show handle. We will gladly get after it. Okay, so, Jeremy, it's Wednesday. No practice today because the team plays a Monday night game, so everything's pushed back. So we don't have any necessarily majorly new updates or news.
No.
Right? So I guess we got to start with the complete debacle that was the Packers-Lions game. Now, by now, everyone has heard all the stories about it and seen all the clips and looked at all of the breakdowns of it. It was ugly. It was downright ugly. Jeremy and I were at the Watershed in Tempe doing a live show and talking about the game. Very bad showing by these Packers.
Dude, it was terrible. It's so tough. It's so tough to sit in that bar and keep a happy face and try to keep everybody into what's going on because that football game was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting to watch. Really frustrating in a lot of different ways. This team is just inconsistent, messy. They're not on the same page. They're broken. It is a broken football team. And Sunday was tough, man. It was a tough go.
Yeah, not a pretty thing. And you know what's? It's getting really strange. And I think it's interesting that all the talk has been about the mess in Green Bay. And I'm not necessarily going to disagree that there isn't a problem. But we're used to it being for years, Jeremy. The defense. Defense, didn't do well. They didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Right. They started slow. They started fast and they gave up too many yards in the second half. It's the offense that we're having a lot of problems with right now. Aaron Rodgers missed some throws. He had some issues with his protection at times, although it wasn't bad. The offensive line, again, I have to be honest with you. It's really nice with all the issues that we have that the offensive line isn't one of them because, Jeremy, coming into the season, that was one of the biggest worries everybody had was if anybody goes down or this line is not healthy, this team is going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, that could still be the case, but here we are through 5 weeks of the season, and the offensive line has held up pretty well, and they're not the storyline.
Right. And that's with Byron Bell playing. That's not even with the guys who stood. That's not Justin McCray. They're just holding it together. So I want to throw this out there to let everybody know. We are going to get into Mike McCarthy. There are people in the chat saying, fire Mike McCarthy. We're going to get into that. There's plenty to talk about this Packer game where we'll hold on to that. Let some more people jump into the chat before we really get deep into the McCarthy talk because there are a lot of strong emotions on that side. So while we wait for that, let me just throw this out there. I want to say hi to some of the people in the chat. Rick, hey, thanks for joining us. Zachary, Ben, thanks for jumping in, guys. Spider618, Logan, thanks so much for jumping in. Thanks for joining the chat. Rick, it's really great to have all you guys here. It makes this show so much more fun. No offensive line trouble. And that's with Byron Bell playing. That's with the trouble that they have. The big trouble that they really have is the depth. And Rick asked this question on the chat. Do you think Ted Thompson's last 2 drafts set the defense? Okay, he said defense, but defense back multiple years. No, not just the defense. The entire team has issues because of Ted Thompson's last few drafts. Because he missed on too many things for his last few years in office. And look, I love Ted Thompson. I was a Ted Thompson supporter. I think he was a great GM, but his last few years there, he missed the mark. He missed the mark too many times, and it's really hurt this team from a depth standpoint. The wide receiver group now would not look like what it does if Gutekunst didn't go out and draft 3 receivers this year, because Ted did not do enough to build up to bring in young receivers, to build up that group, to bring in offensive line depth. What's his name on IR right now? The kid from Stanford. His name just
Kyle Murphy.
Kyle Murphy.
Yeah, Kyle Murphy.
Kyle Murphy has not panned out, has not looked good, and now he's on IR. It's just not been. Jason Spriggs also has not been very good. Ted has set multiple positions on this team back.
Well, yeah, and I guess you can't fix everything all at one time. But I will say this: everybody gave Ted for what did Ted Thompson do well? He was a draft guy. He wasn't the transactional free agent GM.
Right.
He was a draft guy. Okay, fine. So you're a draft guy, but that means then that if you're not going to go after free agents, and again, this has been said a million times, you've got to then not just hit on your early picks, because you got to hit on your early picks, regardless of whoever you are. Right. You got to hit on your mid and late picks too. Then, if that's how you're going to build your roster, and you go after undrafted free agents, you better find the most undrafted free agents out there. Right. You better find the best 4th and 5th rounders out there. And to your point, he didn't do it. So, or you just had some unfortunate situations. Demarius Randall, I'm not convinced isn't a good player.
Right.
He could have worked out, but he didn't work out in Green Bay, and now he's in Cleveland. We're going to talk more about Randall in a second. Yeah. But that's just an example of a way that this team did not do what they need to do. And I think what happened too to build on your point is too many years of stacking enough picks that didn't work out.
Right.
You get 7 picks on average in a draft. If you're going to go the way Ted Thompson goes, I don't think it's hyperbole to say you got to hit on at least 4 of those a year.
Right.
And that's not what happened.
Fair, and that's not what happened. Zach says in the chat, Daniels Clark, he says, you're picking in the bottom 20. What can you expect? Well, there are plenty of times where Ted drafted guys out of the back end of the draft that were just fine. That's not really a good excuse, because the draft is more than just the first round. And you got to hit on guys later in the draft too. And Ted generally was pretty good at that. But there were just too many misses for the Packers, too many times that they missed. And that doesn't mean Ted wasn't a good GM. It just means things didn't end quite so well. And now Gutekunst has to fill the roster back up with talent. And I think the issue is when you're depending on draft and develop, and then the guys you're drafting aren't developing the way you need to supplement with free agency. And I'm not saying go out and sign like the most expensive guys, the day one guys. I'm saying you need to bring in some veterans. When a rookie doesn't work out, he's in his 2nd or 3rd year, and it's looking like it's like a Kyler Fackrell, for example, and it looks like it's not really that great. You need to supplement with some free agents. Now, Gutekunst didn't do that for the outside linebackers this year, but clearly he played around in free agency.
Well, he tried.
Right.
He tried to get like maybe the best outside linebacker.
He did try. He did try.
Just didn't work out.
Right.
So I'm on the train there, and we're doing revisionist history now and talking back about draft picks and all that kind of stuff. What did work well though is the defense has been good. Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson have been good when they're healthy. Kevin King, I don't know what to make of that guy, man. He's got to string some games together, and it's just like, he reminds me of that. I used to play a lot of backyard football. I used to play a lot of like pickup football at like the local high school.
Yeah.
And there was always one guy that would come out like hair on fire, but he would get hurt like right away and like just ridiculously injure himself every single time, like overdoing it. And every time he had to do anything out of the norm, he would get hurt. I feel like that's Kevin King.
Yeah.
The guy just, if he has to do anything more than backpedal and cover and stick a hand up, like he's getting hurt. And it's just, it's one thing after another. And it's like the most freak thing, chin injury. But on the offensive side too, Marquez Valdez-Scantling had a nice day. He had an okay day.
Yeah, let's talk about some positive. Yeah.
Wasn't too bad. Equinemius St. Brown actually caught a pass, and he made a nice catch and run out of it. So the rookies are okay. I'm not – Brian Gutekunst right now with this draft class right now, and again, to your point, how many years are you going to give him? And that's a rhetorical question. 2 or 3.
Right.
You got to give him a couple years.
Right.
This year's draft class is a hit.
So far.
But here's the –
So far, so good.
And we're going to get to this as well. So we got Demarius Randall we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about, like, playing players. Oren Burks. I'm not seeing enough of Oren Burks on the field. So if you hit on a guy and you've got a good player, put him on the field. It's not that difficult. So I don't know what else there is to say about the Lions. The Packers just did not play well. Obviously, Mason Crosby had the worst day of his life. You know, it was really hard to watch. I felt bad for Mason because he's made a lot of really big kicks for us over the last couple of years, and I think everybody just kind of forgets about that, and they want him off the team and they want him gone because he had a bad day. And because Jeremy, what's happening over the last couple of years? Kickers have a bad day. What happens the next day?
Cut him. Bye. Because there have been kickers available, and there are kickers available. But if they stuck with Mason Crosby, what was it, 2012? If they stuck with him for a whole season of rough play, they're not cutting him.
Who are you going to bring in right now, though? Nobody. It's going to be a huge risk anyway. Why?
Right.
You know, some people are like, well, you got to make a statement. You got to let your locker room know if you're not performing. That's it. Well, Mason Crosby had a bad day, but he's still a pretty clutch kicker. I don't think it's a good idea to be letting him go and walk out the door.
You really don't want to mess with the kicker. Like, you don't want to mess with your kicker if you don't have a solid answer to bring in instead. Because that is a guy, all he does really is make, score points. And if you bring in a kicker that doesn't work out and you screwed yourself because you cut your veteran kicker, it's just, that's a decision that needs to be made with a little more patience. You only hold one of them on the roster. So you need to take a little more time before you make that choice. We're not the Minnesota Vikings here, okay? They cut their rookie kicker after one game and went with Dan Bailey, and that's not exactly worked out for them. That's not, like, talking about cutting Mason Crosby, look at that Minnesota situation. It's not like Dan Bailey's, like, blowing the doors off, He's
also not having to kick a lot of field goals because the Vikings are actually scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's the other problem, too, is the Packers are not scoring touchdowns. Their red zone offense is awful. It's terrible. And one of the reasons why it's been terrible is because, again, we've regressed to 2015 levels here. We have receivers that can't get open. We have receivers that don't know what routes they're supposed to be running. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. You've got Jimmy Graham and Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the same space. You've got receivers that are not getting deep enough or getting too shallow, and it's a bit of a mess.
Right.
And then you've got Aaron Rodgers getting frustrated with his head coach, because let's not deny ourselves that's happening. It's definitely happening. Aaron Rodgers is getting very frustrated with Mike McCarthy.
That has been happening.
And, that's just the passing game.
Right.
And there were some issues with Jimmy Graham's effort, too, if you looked on some of those plays. So
now he's dealing with a serious knee injury. During the game, they're icing
Rodgers,
his knee.
You mean?
No.
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham has a knee issue, and they've been icing his knee on the sidelines during the game. So
and that's not getting talked about a lot.
Right. So it may have looked like effort issues. I don't really see Jimmy Graham as an effort issue guy. That's not really what he's ever been. Now, he can't block. That's not something he can do.
That's not the issue, though.
And McCarthy keeps putting him out there to block. Well, that's an issue for me, just because McCarthy keeps trying to do it, even though we all know he can't. But Jimmy Graham on passing plays looking like he's not putting in enough effort. There might be some injuries. An injury issue that's playing into that. So, because I don't think Jimmy Graham is the type of guy to take plays off. He's not Martellus Bennett. He's not a douchebag. So, it's not that. It is an injury issue for Jimmy Graham, which is disappointing. I was hoping by this time of the year that signing would look like gold. And it still could by the end of the year. I think it looks great at times. There are times when he's open. There are times when Rodgers somehow sails the ball over Jimmy Graham's head. I mean, he's the tallest guy on the field.
Yeah, so that would lend itself to, if he has a knee issue, that would lend itself to why he can't get after some of these ball. But Rodgers threw one over his head. It was like way over his head. It's like he's the tallest guy on the field. How do you do that? You're the most accurate passer in the history of the game. You're overthrowing the tallest guy.
I'll tell you how he's doing it. His footwork has been crap, on and off. His footwork has been crap.
Terrible happy feet.
All of those sailed passes, if you go back on the All-22 and you watch the video, what you'll see is Aaron Rodgers not setting his feet. His technique is crap, and he sails the ball. He sailed it on Jimmy Graham. I think it was twice on Sunday, but that's not the only time. Just anytime you go back and watch the film, watch Rodgers' feet on any sailed pass, and I bet they're not set. His technique is probably crap. Zachary says in the chat, practice. And I agree. I think that's And we talked about that 2 weeks ago. I think practice is the issue. He's not – now he's been practicing on Thursdays. Some things have gotten better, but I do think he needs to be in practice. It's not – they're just kind of in a tough spot. Rodgers, he's in a tough spot because of the injury. I don't blame them for sitting him out of practice. It sucks that they have to.
No, but what's interesting is in the past years, if anybody had as much as a hangnail, they showed up in the injury report and they might not play. And the Packers are kind of, the injury report has been, that's me knocking on wood there, very manageable so far this year.
Because guys are hurt, but they keep playing anyways.
And then getting back to your point about some of the subs, like maybe Byron Bell plays so well that when Justin McCray is healthy, Bell just keeps the job. So that's a situation where you finally have some depth. You had a backup that can step in, and then he doesn't relinquish the job.
Absolutely.
It was like Des Bishop, Nick Barnett type of deal, different type of situation. I always feel like I have to qualify my comparisons because everyone's like, it's just this ridiculous. I'm like, come on, people. When I make a comparison, it's don't be that way.
All right. So Jonathan asks, do you think Rodgers' footwork issue has to do with the bad knee?
I think that's part of it, but we've seen this before when he was healthy.
Right. So this is a thing. This is part of the McCarthy thing.
I think the knee issue and the happy feet is. I wouldn't even give it 10%.
I was going to say raise your hand, F, but I won't see anybody raising their hands. How many of us have watched? Yeah, right. How many of us have seen Aaron Rodgers play like this, hot and cold, for the last 3 years? Jason's raising his hand. 3 years.
I have both hands up, representing as many people as I can in the chat.
3 years we've watched this hot and cold. Aaron Rodgers is the most accurate passer in football. He is the best quarterback in football. But for the last 3 years, we have seen him miss on passes that we all know he can make, and he can make with a blindfold on.
And he, I think, I don't know why or how, because as it gets colder, I can only imagine that might get more problematic when you have an injury. I'm hoping that thing is healing slowly each week, although he took a shot last week, and I don't know how much that sets him back, that he's going to have some really good games. I'd like to think this week's game coming up is one where he should, and maybe that gives him a boost. My other problem is there's such a disparity between how this team is playing at home versus on the road this year. They've got some serious road woes. They got to get that figured out because they've got home game against the Niners Monday night, which they should win, and I don't care if it comes down to the wire. You got to win that damn game.
Right.
Then they're on a bye week. I used to say, oh my gosh, it's Christmas. It's a bye week, and the Packers never lose coming off the bye until
I don't believe
2015 happened.
Yeah.
And they got crushed in Denver and lost their undefeated streak. And so now coming off the bye, and it's on the road against the LA Rams, arguably one of the best teams in football. That does not bode well.
I'm scared.
I'm
scared.
I don't know enough about quarterbacks and footwork to be able to sit here and say, this is what I think they need to do. They need to do more of this. He needs to do more of that. Somebody needs to tell Aaron Rodgers whoever it was told Mason Crosby in 2012 that got him back in the game mentally. Listen, don't try so hard to be a thrower to throw. Right. Don't try so hard to throw the football. Just be a quarterback.
Don't think so hard.
Don't think so much. Just I get that he can't move around as much, but here's the deal, okay? Here's my problem. And this is going to maybe transition us, and I think it should. Let's transition this into our next topic, okay? On the touchdown to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, great play call, great design, beat the crap out of the defense. Marquez Valdes-Scantling was all by himself. Rodgers takes the snap, rolls left, looks in command, confident, flicks the wrist, throws it, touchdown, pitch, and catch. It's there. Why is it not happening more often? So there was a lot of, again, Mike McCarthy running this offense. My bigger thing isn't running the offense. I think the offense is fine. I think there is something to be said about execution. The Packers lead the league in drop passes, by the way, this season.
Woo. Sweet.
You've got, to me, it is the slow start, the feet, the running in quicksand start that the Packers seem to come out to. They, I feel like they're not motivated enough. I don't know what they do and don't do to get themselves up for a game, but they come out slow and they don't come out, playing very well. But you do have to kind of look at McCarthy for that. This is your team. It's the heartbeat of the team comes back to you. And then also on the running side of things, take some pressure off Rodgers if you want to make things easier. But Aaron Jones didn't touch the ball for 2 entire quarters. And then you had Mike McCarthy come out to the media this week and say that he doesn't see in so many words that Aaron Jones is that much better than the other running backs in the room, and that that might be a justification for why Aaron Jones didn't see any snaps. Yet he's got a higher yard per carry average by at least a yard, maybe even more over the other two. By the way, for those who are huge Joel Bonyon fans, he was let go from the practice squad, and they signed another running back to take his place on the practice squad, so it wasn't on the active roster. But getting back to McCarthy and this whole thing and Aaron Jones, Jeremy, let's start with the run game. Do you think there's an imbalance?
Yes. There's a frustrating imbalance. McCarthy said some crap about it's not all about rushing stats. It's not all about being a running back. But pretty much what he's saying is he's not very good at pass protection. I can't remember the exact number, so don't quote me and don't get mad at me. I don't remember the exact number, but somebody looked at that second half and said something like they only used running backs to pass protect like 3 times in the second half. But so what's your BS excuse now?
It's not. It is BS. Has he ever graded negatively in pass protection? You know what? It's kind of like the intern who can't get a job because he can't get any experience.
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, give him some reps.
Right. Give
him some reps. Let him pass protect. Give him a chance. Listen, Jamal Williams is head and shoulders. I'm Mike McCarthy. Jamal Williams is head and shoulders better than, that's terrible impersonation. Then Aaron Jones. Okay, fine, but Aaron Jones is your best running back, so you better figure out a way. You know what, Jeremy, to your point last week, oh my gosh, Jeremy, with the thought of the week, maybe, just maybe, you can put them both on the field at the same time.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. You can't do that. That's against Mike McCarthy's religion.
Get Aaron Jones on the field, and also, why am I not seeing Aaron Jones split out wide?
Right.
They
do it with Jamal Williams. I'd rather see Aaron Jones split out wide than Jamal.
Okay, so the Detroit game was a disaster. It's been talked about a billion times. The Packers didn't play well. They obviously have to play better. If Mason Crosby makes all of his kicks, maybe we're talking about a different result.
Right.
But we're not. Mike McCarthy, as a head coach, with his personnel and the usage of players, it's baffling. We got to dig into it. We on the show for several weeks have harped on the whole Mercedes Lewis versus Lance Kendricks thing, and Lance Kendricks catches a freaking touchdown pass this last week, so that's not going to help our case at all. Mike McCarthy's probably going to start him at wide receiver now because he's earned that opportunity. But I just think that Mike McCarthy's he is who he is. He's not going to change his stripes, and he's going to stick with what he knows, and he's going to go with who he's comfortable with. I just don't get it because put your best players on the field. Stop with this, blue collar. So-and-so's got tenure. This is not the freaking, Welders Guild where everything is based on seniority. Put your best players on the field.
Put your best players on the field.
So if you're going to say my best players have to be on the field, so I should see triple the snaps for Equanimeous St. Brown while I'm in the stands at Lambeau this Monday night. No?
Yeah, I think so. I would just not put Javon Moore on the field.
That was a great catch and run.
He did, and at the end of the game, I know they went down, and they kicked that field goal, and everybody kind of thought that it was just like, hey, let's give Crosby one last kick. That wasn't the deal. They needed the points, then they needed an onside. They needed to do what they did.
Yeah.
And Equanimeous showed up when he was needed. Equanimeous played a pretty good game. Valdez-Scantling, he's been playing a lot of snaps. He needs to stay on the field.
I tweeted out that I thought it was kind of for show, and I didn't realize the clock side of things, and so that was actually a good call by the head coach. I don't think Mike McCarthy's a bad head coach, and I'm not going to sit here and say the message is stale. James Jones tweeted out yesterday on Twitter that McCarthy's message is never the same. It's a different team every year. I believe him. I think James Jones has a lot of credibility to me.
That's
I don't
fine.
think he's blowing smoke.
Okay.
But it does, just because the message isn't stale doesn't mean he hasn't been around for too long. I think that, and some people are like, oh, you got to hire a young head coach. Stop putting parameters on what the Packers need to bring in. They need to bring in the best guy to manage the 53 guys that they have 46 on game day, the 53 guys they have on their roster, and get the most out of them, including one of the best passers of all time. I don't care how old that coach is or what his body type is. Just bring him in.
Right. Okay. Let's
do it.
Real quick. I'm looking at the snaps. Equanimeous had 60 snaps. 60. That's great.
And we determined that includes special teams too,
no,
right?
No, it does not. No.
Does he play special teams or no?
No, he did not. He didn't play any snaps on special teams.
Okay.
So nothing for Equinemius on special teams. Valdez-Scantling had 77, so they're real close to each other. It was 81 total snaps for the offense, so 60 snaps is great. Actually, Equinemius can stay right there. That's a really good number for Equinemius, and they can keep him right there. As far as McCarthy goes, I'm like a caged dog here. I've been waiting to share my opinion, and I've been thinking about it for days. I'm ready. I hope you guys are all ready too. So before I get to that, I just want to look in the chat real quick and make sure everybody has their say, because I'm not going to give anybody else a say for a minute here. Zachary says Jones isn't that much better than Williams. You're wrong. That's fine. The stats can say what they say, but when he gets the ball.
Is it Zachary or Zach?
Zachary.
All right, Zachary, fine. Listen, and thanks for listening. So tell us why in the chat, please.
The explosiveness between the two players is visibly different. So you can't say you can look at statistics all day and say, this one is close enough to that one, but when you see the explosiveness on the field, and here's the thing, in a game like they had against the Lions, you need home run plays. What? You need big plays.
The only similarity between the two of them is that they're in a Packers uniform. Like the numbers are different, the body type is different, the style is different, and the results are very different.
Aaron Jones is a home run hitter. Jamal Williams
is going to run into the pile and just try to move it forward. Aaron Jones is going to look for the path. Aaron Jones is like water, people. He's going to find the path of least resistance, and he's gone.
Let's not discredit Jamal Williams too much, because he is a really good back. We both agree.
No, okay. Let me. You're right. Let me qualify that. I like Jamal Williams. I like Jamal Williams a lot.
Right.
I want him on this field. And to be honest with you, I'll be honest with you. My running back depth chart is Jones, Williams, then Montgomery. Everyone's got Montgomery too. No. I've got Jamal Williams number 2.
Ty Montgomery is not a running back to
me.
But
they're using him well.
They use him as a running back, but to me, he's a gadget guy. You can do whatever you want with Ty Montgomery. So to me, he doesn't really fit on that running back depth chart as number 2. He is number 3, but he'll still get his snaps in other ways. The other two guys are 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Were you surprised? Side note, real quick. 2 sentences or less. Were you surprised at all that they didn't get Ty out wide more often with Cobb out and Allison out?
Yes, I was surprised. Actually, yes and no, because Equinemius plays in the slot quite well. He fits there really well. And not only that, they used Devontae Adams in the slot a few times and had a lot of success with it. They actually, his touchdown that he had was a setup where he was playing as the third receiver. He was playing in trips. He was the third receiver, so he's the inside man. And they set up a few plays where I think he was running a post, and then he ran a corner route for the touchdown, where there were 2 plays where he ran a post, and then he hit a corner route for the touchdown. They set that up, and it was beautiful.
I am telling you.
So they didn't need to really put Ty there, but I think that's where he fits best.
I'm telling you right now, Equinemius St. Brown, by the end of this season, he gains some confidence.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I can play with these guys and I can do this. He is going to make some defensive backs look downright silly.
So, and let's not, I really still want to get to my McCarthy take, but there's just,
we're
just kind of, we're into some positivity here. And I don't want the whole show to be negative. Valdez-Scantling and Equinemius both look great. And how awesome will it be if 2 of those 3 receivers actually develop and become something that is difficult to stop alongside Devontae Adams. Like that, those 3 guys, that sounds awesome. And then you talk about the running backs, the core that they have at running back, that this whole group can, in a year or 2, look awesome. If 2 of those 3 rookie receivers develop. And right now, it looks like 2 of them are taking a step towards development. I don't know what to think of Jamon, but these 2 guys look pretty good.
This is Goody's first draft. So, I mean, to come out of the gate and hit like this, and you've got 2 pretty stud cornerbacks. So what did I say? 4 guys have to hit. There's your 4 right there.
Right.
And it doesn't even include Oren Burks.
Right. And he looked good too.
He could end up being really good too.
Right. So this draft looks pretty darn good. And I know he's just a punter, but J.K. Scott is
you're right. That's
pretty
a good point.
damn good. That's another one.
Hunter Bradley was kept, and you know what? Fine. He's okay because it wasn't a snap issue on any of those kicks. Believe it or not, it wasn't a snap issue. Okay, so the talent is there.
Okay, what's the
Why
deal?
aren't they getting all of the most out of this? Okay, so Mike McCarthy. Jeremy, I'll let you start off because I know this is kind of your hot topic.
Right.
The reality is, and I'll set this up, he's coaching for his job right now. He has 1 more year on his deal, but he could very easily be let go after this season. So where are we at here? How warm is the seat? And then, of course, what we've already talked about what he needs to do in your mind. I think you said he's got to get to an NFC Championship game to save his job.
I've changed it.
I heard a lot of that. I heard a lot of that this week too, so you're not alone.
I think he needs to get to a Super Bowl to save his job. I've changed it. Here's the thing. There are people out there that will defend McCarthy, and I get it. McCarthy is a great coach, and he's been awesome for the Packers. I love Mike McCarthy. I appreciate his time in Green Bay and what he did for the Green Bay Packers, but I think his time is up, and it's been up for 3 years, and we are wasting another year with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this. I'm playing devil's advocate. How did they do what they did, even though they got bounced badly in the NFC Championship game? How did they do 2016?
Aaron freaking Rodgers.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
That's it. It's always Aaron Rodgers. Here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers is the magic. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's everything. And when he's off, it's over. It's screwed. They are screwed.
I think a lot of teams would be, but there's some
Right.
coaches that could make more out of it than not. 2015 is probably a good example for us to look at too, because Rodgers was healthy, but he was kind of off a bit, and they had that terrible game at Arizona at the end, and then they just did not look good.
Right.
Well, they could have beat the Cardinals, and then it was Mr. All of the defense. My current defense is better than the last two I played on in Green Bay. Demarius Randall.
Yep.
Gives up a crossing route to Larry Fitzgerald. Those are the kind of things that I was hoping would go away when Dom Capers was let go, and Edgar Bennett and Joe Philbin was brought in,
Right.
and Mike Pettin. I like Mike Pettin. I like the defense. I have no problems. I have no problems with the defense. The only problem I have is that Goot had to decide where he was going to trust what he had and where he was going to stock the cupboard. And outside linebacker was a trust position, and unfortunately, I think it's biting this team a lot.
Right.
The outside linebackers were pitiful. Clay Matthews and Nick Perry were awful. They did nothing in this last game. Obviously, nothing from Fackrell. I didn't hear Reggie Gilbert's name one time.
Yeah.
Can't happen.
Right. So, okay, Mike McCarthy. People say his message is getting stale, and I think that even though James Jones said that's not the case.
Narrative. I think that's a narrative based.
You know what? Here's the thing, though. Bill Walsh said it, and this is what everybody's saying right now. But actually, 3 years ago, Chris Christofko at Titletown Sound Off, when I was at Titletown Sound Off, for those of you who don't know, I owned and operated Titletown Sound Off, and at the time, Chris wrote a fantastic article about Mike McCarthy's expiration date, and it was exactly about all the things we're talking about right now. He was writing it then. Mm-hmm. And I believe that he was right. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, here's the thing. He put that article out then, and there was a caveat of like, okay, it was written like this could be where we're at, where he's had his 10 years, like Bill Walsh said, and really his time is just up in Green Bay. And we all said, yes, but it's Mike McCarthy, and he's really good, and he deserves a chance to prove that we're wrong. Here's the thing.
And they were on the doorstep.
He hasn't.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years. There is a trend now. This isn't just like, hey, they're just a little off right now. No, we are going on a 3-year trend of unorganized football, disappointing slow starts. This garbage that we've been watching it for 3 years and waiting for it. I am tired of Sundays, watching on Sunday and thinking at some point they're going to snap out of this and the magic is going to come back. That Aaron Rodgers beautiful magic is going to come back. And it's not coming back. It hasn't come back, and we've been waiting on it. It's been 3 years. It's a trend, and trends say what's true.
Okay, but to your point then, okay, so here I am on the other side of the table, okay? And I know you've got something for this, but here's the deal though, Jeremy. I'm so-and-so analytics guy. I'm Russ Ball, and I'm saying, well, okay, fine, but you were on the doorstep of the NFC Championship game in 2015. You lose a heartbreaker in overtime. Bummer. You get to the NFC Championship game in 2016. You don't beat the Falcons, but you were in a tough spot. Bummer. Well, you lost Aaron Rodgers in 2017, so what did you expect? What are you going to...
Right.
How is that all Mike McCarthy's fault, Jeremy?
Right. Because there's a disorganization in this team, and Zachary's in the chat disagreeing with us, which seems to be the only thing Zachary tends to do.
That's fine.
He says Belichick makes this argument invalid. Here's the thing.
Bill Belichick's
the anomaly.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like
Zachary, come on, dude.
Dude, saying Bill Belichick makes this invalid means you don't quite understand how great Bill Belichick is.
Yeah, Bill Belichick's he's really good. And listen, I'm not saying he's not a good coach, Zachary. I mean, that's a good point, but come on, man. Let's focus on McCarthy and to your point, Jeremy, there's disarray.
Look at the Ravens right now. They're going through the same situation. Their coaching staff has been around for a while. And things have gotten a little stale there, and there's talk that they might be on their way out. Harbaugh might be done out there. Now, that doesn't mean Harbaugh's a bad coach. This doesn't mean McCarthy's a bad coach.
You know what? If Zachary wanted to make a pointer, and I will say this, Marvin Lewis has actually got the Cincinnati Bengals
Okay.
Playing well. And he's been there for a really long time.
Marvin Lewis is a really bad example because there are times when their team is complete crap. Just utter shit. And Marvin Lewis is still around. You know why? Because Mike Brown doesn't spend money for anything. That's the cheapest dude in the NFL right there. He's not firing his coach and going and hiring another.
Well, he spends money. He just goes to the penitentiary and grabs the 3 most badass guys he can find.
Right. The Bengals are just a bad example because Marvin Lewis should have been fired a lot. It should have happened already. And the Patriots are a bad example because Bill Belichick is practically Jesus coaching football. So Bill Belichick is that great. He transcends the sport. He transcends the position, and it's not really something you can compare. Mike McCarthy is a really good coach, but he's not in Bill Belichick's. He's not even in his wheelhouse.
You know,
if Bill Belichick was the Packers coach with Aaron Rodgers, how many Super Bowls do you think he has?
Oh God,
he wins. Okay, we don't even have to put a number to it.
He's a defensive.
He wins more Super Bowls. But he does both. He does offense and defense.
He's
he
more
controls
of a defensive
that entire
guy,
team.
and that's where I think it's a huge edge. When you're really good at something and you're a coach and you have an elite player on the other side of the ball, you're going to do very good things.
There is a trend in the NFL of like, okay, we have a really good quarterback. Let's bring in an offensive-minded coach to be the head coach. And I would love to see teams do the opposite.
I
agree. You have a really smart
Agreed.
quarterback.
Look at Mike
bring
Zimmer.
in a defensive coach.
Look at Mike Zimmer.
Can you imagine Mike Zimmer? Okay, and I don't really want to imagine. Can you imagine Mike Zimmer with Aaron Rodgers on his team? That defense with Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the ball, like I want to see a team go hire a defensive coach with an Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback.
You don't love Mike Zimmer because you're a Packers fan, but if he was coaching your team, he was the defensive coordinator on Green Bay. There would be posters on billboards in his face everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. Okay, so back to the McCarthy thing. What is it? What is the thing? There's been disorganization in the team. There's been what are they in penalties right now?
They're last. They've got the most. They've got the most. Jeremy, it's real simple. Okay, I think what you're trying to say, and maybe if not, then this is going to be my take. Antiquated. I know that's very raw. It's raw to say, and it's very harsh, and maybe it's bold.
Right.
Mike McCarthy is antiquated.
Yeah.
He's antiquated. The game he's not up with it. He can do, I think, in a specific matchup, I think he's capable. Do I think he's capable of putting together another performance like they had against the Patriots in 2014? Yes.
Yeah.
One game.
Sure.
But this team needs to put together an entire season of that.
Right.
The NFL has changed, and I'm looking at all these bunch formations and these rub routes and routes that are, designed to get the receivers
open.
free. By the way, that's actually happening right now. There were plenty of open receivers on Sunday, and Aaron Rodgers fumbled the ball twice and gave it away.
Right, and that actually somebody said this in the chat. I don't know who it was. Sorry, I forgot. But they said the problem with Rodgers is that he's constantly looking downfield. He doesn't take the underneath stuff. And that's the truth. He held onto the ball way too long both those times. You can't hold onto the ball for 6 seconds. You need to know as a quarterback, you cannot hold the ball that long.
If you're a great quarterback and you're known for being smart and watching film, and you're Aaron Rodgers, then I, as a fan, this week, and I'm going to watch it live, so I'll be able to see everything happen. I expect you to know more often than not, hey, I might want to look out in the flat. I might have somebody open, and that guy could possibly be Aaron Jones, and I might want to get the ball in his hand.
Can I just say, this is what I think is happening here. This is what I think is happening with Aaron Rodgers. His footwork, the holding the ball too long.
Footwork is so bad
this
sometimes.
is the thing. This is what I think is going on. I think he's tired of Mike McCarthy's offense.
So you're going to pout by playing bad? I don't know.
No. He's not pouting. He's playing with some frustration. And when you get frustrated and you play with frustration, you make bad choices. Not on purpose, not to be pouty, but he's frustrated with the way that things are. And so he's looking downfield because I want to go deep. I'm tired of running what McCarthy's trying to run. I want to go deep. He holds the ball too long. Boom, strip sack. He looks like an idiot. I think there's some frustration with Aaron Rodgers, and we've seen it for a few years. He is not nice to Mike McCarthy. He straight up disrespects Mike McCarthy. And we all know it.
By the way he's playing?
No, by the things he says to the media. And he's been doing it for years.
But you also agree with him.
Oh, I agree with him, yes. But here's that doesn't matter. The point is, if you're on the team, okay, it's like this. Aaron Rodgers is the employee. Mike McCarthy is the supervisor.
Bingo.
And the employee thinks he knows more than the supervisor, but the boss agrees with the employee, right? So Mike McCarthy knows he can't say anything back because who's the most important person on the team?
Mark Murphy.
No,
Aaron Rodgers,
right?
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy is number 2 in that scenario.
If you have a choice between the two, you're getting rid of McCarthy. You're not getting rid of Rodgers.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Right, exactly. So McCarthy, he knows his place. Aaron Rodgers is straight up disrespecting him, and he shouldn't do it. But Mike McCarthy can't really do anything about it because boss man agrees. Aaron Rodgers is the smarter of the two, and he's the guy I want around. So McCarthy could go and complain to Mark Murphy, but what's Mark Murphy going to do? Well, okay, I'll sit Aaron down and tell him you need to talk much nicer about your coach.
Is that your Mark Murphy impersonation?
It's Mr. Mackey / Mark Murphy.
Yeah, all right. Well, and I'll just say this: it is a tough position for the team to be in, and you've got two guys that have been together for a really long time. And I can tell you, I've spent some long tenures at certain jobs,
right?
And I've seen my relationship with my boss change 180 degrees.
Where it was great at first,
and then it
not
got
great at the end.
Real bad. Real bad, and I've seen it happen, and it was ugly going on the way out, and all I wanted to do was get out of there, and I totally get that. And I don't think that's where Rodgers is at. I think he still thinks that he can make it, but as you get a little bit older too, I don't know that I think Rodgers has almost adopted the mentality of, listen, I'm very well paid, I have a charmed life, I'm in a great situation, I can help a lot of people, he's got his Mac fund, all the things he does off the field,
right? He
handles himself well in the media. He's a good teammate, and he's a solid leader. You saw him last week come up to Mason Crosby, put his arm around him, and encourage him on the sideline. He's a good guy.
Right.
Yeah, he wants to be great, and sure, you don't think he doesn't want to get a second Super Bowl and end any conversation about whether or not he or Brett Favre are the better?
He wants most.
He or the better, but I also think that he also is like, listen, if I don't win another championship, I'm still Aaron Rodgers, and I'm still going to go have a scotch. Have a scotch. Everyone's waiting for the line this season, like the new RELX.
Have a scotch.
It's have a scotch. That's what it is.
Right.
It's have a scotch.
Put it on a shirt. Have a scotch, relax, and run the table. That's what it's going to be. Towards the end of the season, when things have been bad and they need to go out and make some magic happen, Rodgers is going to say, have a scotch, relax,
okay,
and
so
run the table.
Let's go on record here. Well, let's go on record. Some people have been listening to this for a long time, and we have not made this very, very clear. Jeremy, you want Mike McCarthy replaced. I think you've made that very clear.
I do.
I think you'd rather have it, but when?
At the end of the season.
At the end or after?
After the season.
Okay, agreed.
After, not right now. You can't right now. You already committed. You're done. You committed. Stick with it. But just know, unless the dude wins a Super Bowl, you got to make a change.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm not happy to keep him around. Even then, I'm not happy. But I think unless he wins a Super Bowl, you got to make a change. Because the trend speaks for itself. You cannot ignore the trend of what we've watched in Green Bay for 3 years now.
If they win a Super Bowl, I think this year, as much as it's negative to say, it's in spite of McCarthy.
Right. So there's a little bit of disagreement in the chat here about, Rodgers has played like crap. It's not all on McCarthy. Zach makes a great point. He doesn't just disagree with us. He's on our page at some point here at points. His window is shrinking. So let's put ourselves in Aaron Rodgers' shoes. Let's try to think like Aaron Rodgers right now. His window is shrinking, and he's tired of keeping his mouth closed. His window is shrinking. He feels that. He doesn't like the offense.
Where have we seen this before?
I don't know. You tell me. I'm sure I know, but I'm not.
The birthday of one Brett Lorenzo Favre. Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Brett Favre.
Happy birthday, Brett Favre. So Rodgers, if you're thinking in the mindset of Rodgers, he knows his window is closing. He knows time's coming to an end. He's been frustrated with Mike McCarthy for 3 years.
Cliche counter, window closed, ding.
And so he can't stand it anymore. He's been frustrated. We've watched him blow up at guys on the field. We've watched him blow up at McCarthy, them get into an argument. We've watched Aaron Rodgers get frustrated. We've heard him say things in press conferences that surprise us all, and we all think, like, why would you say that?
I miss the days where he would just walk up to the microphone and had Purple Crush and would drink it, and that was it, and walk out, and we were all feeling good and happy, and everyone's getting along, and they just got a huge win, and woohoo!
Right.
But not anymore. Now it's Big Bro and Dad are fighting.
Right. It's a hot, steamy crap pile mess that needs to be fixed, and I do think, and actually I have we put out a poll on the Twitter account at CHTV Live. If you want to follow us on Twitter.
You better follow us on Twitter if you want to win anything. Right,
because we did a Leroy Butler 8x10 giveaway last week.
We tried.
Actually, we ran it for 2 weeks.
We tried.
No, we did give it away. We eventually gave it away. The first guy didn't follow all the rules, so he lost it. We gave it to somebody else.
We gave away the horning. No, we gave away the horning.
No, we gave away both. They both got given away. So a Paul Hornung autograph got given away at the Watershed, and we gave away the Leroy Butler 8x10. I did a poll today on the at CHTV Twitter account. At the end of the season, Mike McCarthy will be given an extension, be fired, leave for another job. What do you think won?
If you want the Packers to win a Super Bowl this year, you better have picked giving an extension, because that's probably what it's going to take for him to get one. I would have to say, the way everyone's been talking, is probably get fired.
Yeah.
And what's the percentage?
72%.
Wow.
72% of 303 votes.
Wow.
That many people believe he'll be fired. The next 17% be given an extension, and then 11% leave for another job.
Okay, the 11% leave for another job, by the way, are going to win this poll, and here's why. The Packers, this is the way they roll. They're going to let McCarthy go at the end of the season if he doesn't do what they want him to do.
But they'll make it look pretty.
They're going to let him resign. Yeah, they'll make it look pretty. So the 11% are going to win.
Yeah.
By the way, I voted, and I am one of the 11%.
You're one of the 11%. Right. You know what? Actually, it's not just as simple as that. There's also the choice that McCarthy feels the burnout too. And Mike Clements said it on 1250, I think Monday. He was talking. It was a really funny segment. He always plays clips and stuff. And Bill Michaels will ask him questions, and he'll play clips and then talk about it. And he played a clip of Mike McCarthy in a press conference answering a question about something stupid, like something not big. And his answer was so long and so wordy and so beyond, it didn't make any sense. And Clements is like, this is what burnout sounds like.
Yeah, and then here's the thing. I listened to that clip too, and they kept playing him talking while underneath they were talking over him.
Exactly.
And it was going on and on and on. It was like the drunk guy at the bar that won't shut up.
Yes, they're talking over it, and Bill Michaels is laughing, and Clements is like, this is what burnout sounds like. He's burnt out. And I think, you can't just look at this from Rodgers' situation. McCarthy is frustrated too. He wants his Hall of Fame quarterback to shut up and play the offense. And they're both really stubborn guys. So Rodgers is frustrated, and he's holding the ball too long, and he's making bad choices. And McCarthy's sticking to his guns, and he wants Rodgers to run the offense that he wants to run because he's stubborn. They're both very stubborn. They're trying to out-stubborn each other, and it's pissing everybody off because they're not on the same page. We're watching this broken offense year after year for the last 3 years, and they're not getting on the same page. And we all want to say, McCarthy's one of the most stubborn coaches of all time, and he won't make changes. Yeah, well, Aaron Rodgers also won't play within his offense. They're both being assholes. We all want to watch winning football. Quit being dicks. Just figure out how to win football games. Figure out how to play well with each other and figure it out.
Just throw to the open guy.
So here's the thing: that last option on the poll, leave for another job. McCarthy might leave himself before being fired. He's only got 2 years on his deal. Somebody tweeted at us and said neither. He's gonna coach out the last year of his deal. That doesn't happen. The team will let him go. If he says he's comfortable to stick around.
If there's anybody who might do it, though, it's Mike McCarthy sitting there. Mike McCarthy, okay, here's the perfect comparison. Just hear me out, okay? For those of you who are in biology and know anything about wildlife and frogs, okay, Mike McCarthy is a bit of a frog, okay? Frogs, when they jump into hot water, jump right out because they sense that it's hot. But if you put a frog in water that feels good to them and it gets warmer and warmer and hotter and hotter, they can't sense the difference in the environment around them, and they eventually boil to death.
Right.
That's Mike McCarthy.
I think you're right. Here's a fix. Aaron, this is from Jack. Aaron and Mike need to agree to do a ton of quick passing game. Boom, we win a Super Bowl. You know what? I'm disagree because the times that we've seen this offense work well is when they go to quicker passes and they run a quicker offense. It's when it's in crunch time and they have no choice and they change how they're playing and they light it up because they absolutely have to. But it doesn't happen until they're behind. And that's what's pissing me off. What are we waiting for? What are you doing? Why are you not starting the game this way? So there's a disconnect. There's a real disconnect in Green Bay, and it's been there for 3 years.
How many times, let me ask you a question, put you on the spot. How many times has Aaron Rodgers thrown the ball more than 50 yards downfield this entire season?
Dude,
you can remember.
I don't know, but it's not. It's maybe.
Can you fill one hand? Can you fill one hand?
No,
fingers?
I don't think so.
Exactly.
No, and I think that's Aaron Rodgers' frustration. That's why he's holding onto the ball.
But he also got to give his receivers a chance. You can say I want to trust my receivers and all. That's great, but you got to give these guys a chance. So Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Equanimeous St. Brown, they should both be on your yes list. So if they get deep and there's a step, throw the football. You've thrown a ball into a net in practice down the field the size of a size of a football and nailed it.
Right.
Hit these guys.
I can't actually the Rodgers trust issue doesn't necessarily seem to be there right now because he is throwing to the rookies and we've seen Lance Kendricks play like absolute doo-doo and doo-doo is a fantastic word. You should use it for anything you dislike. He's played like doo-doo. And Rodgers still threw him a touchdown on Sunday. Rodgers isn't opposed to throwing him the football, even though he's been playing like absolute trash. And as soon as you see that it's Lance Kendricks on the receiving end of the ball, what do we all think? Oh, no, please don't drop that. Because we all know he sucks right now. He's going to drop it. He's going to drop it. And he didn't drop that, and that was awesome. But Rodgers is... It's beyond the trust thing at this point. I think him holding onto the ball and looking downfield is frustration. He wants to go deep. And Devontae Adams pretty much said such in one of his times with the media. He basically said they want to go out and light it up. I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but it was basically him saying they want to go deep. They want to be able to go deep. And they're not going deep. They're not even trying. So there's a lot of frustration in the locker room right now with guys between each other, with Rodgers and McCarthy. I think everybody's a little frustrated right now. And it has been this way for so long that I don't care if they get it together by the end of the season. I don't want this locker room to feel this way ever again.
Okay.
It needs to change.
All right, so we're getting to the home stretch, and we have another topic to cover. Okay. So talking about the locker room, one of the things that we've talked about is chemistry and Mike McCarthy and the culture and all that kind of stuff. All right. We talked about Demarius Randall a little bit earlier. Today he comes out and tweets and talks about or says to the media that the current Cleveland Browns defense that he's a part of is better than any defense that he played on in Green Bay, and that includes 2015, 2016, 2017. Now, last year in 2017, we all know the defense could only do so much. The offense was really bad. 2016, I thought the defense played well in certain spots. 2015, the defense was actually pretty good, okay? Mm-hmm. And everyone's getting all upset, and they're like, oh, that's a shot at the Packers. What is Demarius Randall supposed to say? That's a good teammate. Hey, I'm in the best situation that I'm in. It's almost like saying my best years are always ahead of me because you always want to believe that you've got some great life ahead of you and great things to experience. That, to me, is Demarius Randall saying, whether he believes it or not, the right thing to motivate his teammates and to endear himself to his teammates.
Right.
Okay? Then you've got the Packers safety, Clinton Dix, who has played well more so than he did last year. He's already played better this year than he did last season, so he's improved. But he comes out and he says, I don't think I'm going to be here next year. And he's like, I just got to go out and play and do what I do for myself. So now, Jersey Al tweeted this out earlier. He's looking at it from the perspective of the locker room and his teammates. You're Clinton Dix teammate. What are you thinking when you've got that kind of a mentality next to you? This guy's in a contract year. He doesn't think he's going to be back. He's crying about it in the media. He's trying to negotiate in the media, essentially, basically. Either get the Packers to start negotiating with him or he's taking a shot at them now because he knows he won't be back. And this is the guy that we're counting on to be one of the two safeties in the back.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I'm frustrated with Clinton
Deep
Dix.
sigh.
Yeah. People in the chat are like, "Who cares? What's Randall going to say anyways?" That's Zachary's question. What's Randall going to say anyways?
That's a good point.
That's not really the point of the conversation. The point is,
but
you have
he's
two
right.
different safeties
But he's right
doing
though.
two different things. And you know what? I don't really disagree with Demarius Randall. The defenses in Green Bay were terrible. So fine, that's not the point though. We're talking about the light and day difference between Demarius Randall saying my defense is really good, and Clinton Dix saying I might not be here next year. And this is the biggest interview of my life. Well, tell you what, buddy. If this is the biggest interview of your life, you are failing. It is a shitty interview. I would not hire you. You're like in Step Brothers when they fart in the interview. That's you. That is Clinton Dix. He's been farting in the interview, and I don't know if he's going to get hired. Now, somebody's going to sign him. But he's not impressing me. And I'm sure there are lots of guys around the NFL who think there are times where Clinton Dix takes plays off. He's a playmaker, right? He can make plays. He had that great interception against Buffalo. He can make plays. He also takes plays off and avoids contact and is blatantly clear that he is trying not to make contact. He will bounce around a guy and kind of contain him and let somebody else make the tackle. We've seen it time and time again. He's been doing it this year. If that's what you're bringing that's not your A game. Where's your A game, buddy? This is your huge interview. You're not coming back to Green Bay next year, which, thank God, I don't want Clinton Dix back in Green Bay. Because if this is how Clinton Dix plays when he's playing for a contract, what's he going to play like when he gets the contract?
Right.
What is he going to look like when he finally gets paid?
Right. Well, he's probably going to end up going to the Vikings, playing against the Packers, because they're going to finally move on from 34. Jerk. Minnesota.
Pendejo?
Pendejo. And they're gonna move on from him, and then
Can you say that on the show?
No, probably not.
No, you probably shouldn't have.
That was in Spanish, and I did. I totally said it. So
all right.
But they're gonna move on, and they're gonna put Clinton Dix out there, and he's gonna light it up because he's playing against the Packers twice a year. He's gonna go full Brett Favre. But no, I mean it's disappointing. This is completely the opposite. He's not endearing himself to his teammates at all. And this is a guy that apparently had a voice in the locker room about getting rid of Demarius Randall and saying, listen, we got to get rid of this guy because he's not playing well within the defense.
Right.
And you want to be one of the guys. You want to be one of the boys. Like, I'm going to be watching when I'm in the stands on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching how his teammates interact with him. You might have some guys that are like, hey, listen, I know this guy personally. He's a solid dude. Everyone's giving him a bum rap. He was just saying what he felt like in the moment. Dude, you are what you say.
Right.
I mean, unless he goes out and lights it up and he picks off 10 passes this year.
Right.
And gets back to a Pro Bowl or makes All-Pro status and makes the Packers change their mind and bring him back. I don't know. I mean, it's just that was a bad move. Bad thing to say. You're not endearing yourself to anybody. Your teammates, the fans, I can't imagine the front office by saying I'm not going to be back. Have they already decided that? Why would you start a guy and have made your position clear? Listen, we're not bringing you back after this season, but you got to go out. We exercised your option, so you got to go out and play for us. Do you honestly think you're going to get the best play out of that guy? I find it hard to believe the team has made it known they're not bringing him back. He's making an assumption.
Now,
here.
the thing is, that was a little bit overblown. Like, he said it, but it was really just him saying, look, I might not be back this year. He didn't say it that way, but that is really what he meant. But the problem with it for me is that, you're telling the world that this is your big interview, but you're playing like crap, dude. Don't even talk about it, because if you're saying this is your big interview, then you're telling the world that you understand. You understand the importance of playing well, and then you go out and put on the show that you do. It's just
No. Hold on. Let me read the quote. Right now, I'm playing each and every game like it's my last. I don't think I'm going to be here next year. That's how I look at it. I just have to be honest with myself. You've got to play it game by game. Whether we're losing by 60 points, you got to go out there and perform. This is my biggest interview of my career, so I've got to perform regardless of what the record says.
Right.
He straight up says, I don't think I'm going to be here next year.
Yeah, he's farting in his interview. He farted in the interview. That happened. He's got a tuxedo T-shirt on, and he farted in the interview. Jack Carpenter says, I hate always bringing up Nick Collins, but Nick worked his ass off. That dude went 100 miles an hour at times. That is the difference between a Hall of Fame player and a dude with tons of talent who's completely mentally average.
There you have it. The desire can overcome some of the physical shortcomings, but Nick Collins had them both.
Right.
And he's a rare breed.
Yep.
We all miss Nick Collins, no doubt.
There has been talk about moving Josh Jackson to safety. Jack says, I think Jackson is too valuable at corner. I agree. I don't want to move him to safety.
No,
I don't want to move him to safety.
He's proven too valuable. He's proven way too valuable. I heard some chatter that instead of Jackson, it might be Kevin King that they move back to safety.
Yeah, I don't know, because he gets hurt so easily. I just don't know that they could put him back in a position where he's going to have to lay the wood at times. And that's the problem with HaHa. He should be laying the wood, and instead he just kind of dances around stuff. I don't think they should move anybody anywhere. I think they need to go out and get a pair of safeties. Eric Reed could have been had for cheap. I think Alex said that in the chat. That's true, and that would have been a great answer. They didn't do that. That's unfortunate. We have to move on. It sucks because I wanted Eric Reed, and it sucks that anybody got him. And he is a good safety, and he's young, and that would have been a fantastic answer. Didn't happen. Done. End of story. Eric, what's his name out in Seattle? The safety.
Earl Thomas.
Yeah, my brain keeps shutting off. I'm looking. I see his face in my mind.
Well, he's in Seattle right now. He's not going to be after this year, one way or the other.
Earl Thomas would have been great to trade for, and who knows if he would have broke his leg. I don't know. Whatever. He might not have in Green Bay. He may have. I don't know. But Earl Thomas would have been a great trade. You could have had both. You could have went out and got Eric Reed. It would have cost you nothing but a contract, and you could have traded for Earl Thomas, and your safety position looks
a lot better.
Glorious. Not a lot better. Beautiful. Yeah. It looks great.
If he's healthy.
Right.
All right, so I think obviously the main point here, the focus is there's a culture issue in the Packers locker room right now, and they've got to get it together, and they've got to get it together quick. Any quick thoughts before we sign off on San Francisco? I talked about this as a must-win game. It's kind of hyperbole to say it that way, but the reality is for this team and their momentum and their record, this is a game that if they lose, you can kiss this season goodbye.
They need to win this game by 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
They need to win. San Francisco is that bad. They just lost to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are supposed to be the worst team in the NFL. If the Packers don't win this by 3 touchdowns, I will be very disappointed.
The Bills beat the Vikings.
Hey, listen, the Packers look, San Francisco is terrible. They are a train wreck. They're in a bad spot. They don't have Garoppolo. They got nothing. They have nothing that says that they should win this game or even be close. If the Packers don't win this by 3 touchdowns, Aaron Rodgers will probably be pissed, just like he was when they won 22-0. He'll probably be pissed off if they don't go big. The defense, if that defense can shut out Buffalo that went out and beat the Vikings, they should be able to shut out the San Francisco offense. That offense is not good. They have running back injuries right now, so they don't really. Alfred Morris is probably going to start at running back. I forgot the freaking quarterback's name because it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
C.J. Beathard.
Yeah, Beathard. It doesn't matter.
Alfred Morris actually runs well against the Packers, and
Yeah.
he's been irrelevant this season. So he's ripe to break out because he's playing the
It
Packers.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That offense, they could very well shut out San Francisco.
I think regardless of how you slice it and however they win this game, they just need to win it, because if they don't, we're going to have a very somber tone next week when we reconvene.
Jonathan, I don't know if either of us said that the Packers lost to the Bills. And if it did happen, it was a slip-up. We know, obviously, because we were watching. Aaron Rodgers was pissed, though, that they won 22-0. If they don't win by 3 touchdowns, I think Aaron Rodgers is pissed once again. If they don't go big and destroy the San Francisco team, Aaron Rodgers is going to be frustrated, and fans should be too. That team is so bad, there is no excuse for the 49ers to be in this game at all. It shouldn't even be close. If it is close, that is bad. If it's a close game in any form, that is really bad. If the 49ers aren't out of it before the end of the first half, that's bad. They are a terrible, terrible football team. So that's what I think about San Francisco.
Yeah, agreed. The Niners are not good. The Packers got to win this game Monday night. Under the lights, show the nation they're good. They're back. Even though they're at home, they're not on the road, but it's still an opportunity for them to put up good big numbers and put up a good performance. They have to do it. All right, so again, Jason Perone and Jeremy Vanderlinden of Cheesehead TV. You can follow me at Jason Perone. You can follow Jeremy at Jeremy RVDL. Follow the show at CHTV Live. Don't want to forget our sponsor, Ticket King. Get your Packers tickets. They're probably going to still be available, and very relatively a great value for this Niners game without Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. Get onto ticketking.com, buy your tickets, come pick them up at the location next to Lambeau. Get them sent to you. I don't know if there's still time. But
also, don't want to forget to mention our buddy Thomas DeCaro supplying us with some delicious beverages for the game. Thomas works for Odell Brewing, and he provided us with some fantastic beer. So I really appreciate the free gift of delicious beverages for talking Packers.
Lambeau, what's it called?
Lambeau Lager at the Shed. If you're in Arizona, they will be adding the Lambeau Lager. It is from Odell Brewing. You can go there for that. That is like that's a specialty thing that will be at Packer bars. That is not something you can go out to stores and buy. I'm drinking the Isolation Ale right now. It's fantastic. It's an amber ale. Jason's got the what's it called?
The Schilling.
90 Schilling.
The 90 Schilling. The 90 Kurt Schilling. It's actually SHIL. So
I think he did say that they had just launched in Wisconsin. So if you're in Wisconsin and you want to try some good beer, you can try Odell Brewing.
It's good stuff. All right, so the Packers have a lot to prove to us. Hopefully they'll do so in just a couple days in the bright lights of Monday Night Football. Hopefully they use that extra day off to get themselves healthy and get some extra rest. Until next time, I will be live at Lambeau Field on Monday night.
That's right.
So
I'll be live at the Watershed.
You'll be live at the Watershed. We'll have a special guest that's going to step in. It'll be a great time out there. Jeremy, any final thoughts?
I love Mike McCarthy. Thank you for your time. It's time for you to go. I'm sorry.
Go Pack Go. This has been another edition of Cheesehead TV Live.
Thank you for listening to Cheesehead TV Live. Check out cheeseheadtv.com for more great Packers content.